bike was on display at the Manchester Bike Show, and I saw it and I thought, wow, I need to have a go at that, because that looks like something that will be awesome for a bit of green laning. It's got those big chunky off-road tyres on, it's got a nice ground clearance, and it was very cheap. Right then, let me take you back a year or so ago to the Manchester Bike Show. Back then, I spoke to a garage that I hadn't been to before, called Into Moto, that had some bikes on display. This was one of the bikes on display, and this was one of the bikes that I spoke to them about that I was desperate to have a test ride on. And I hope you can see why, because believe it or not, this big beast is only a 125, and when I spoke to the garage about having a test ride on it, they said, yeah, sure, come down, and the rest is history. Albeit, this is the first time I've actually had a go on the SMX 125, so what do we think of it? I'll show you around it the usual way, but I've got to say, for a green laner, for something to play on, this looks pretty nice, doesn't it? Let's have a look round. Big sexy close up. Now, I really like the colour scheme on this. Now, looking at it, it is just a black motorcycle, but with all the transfers, stickers, and everything. Yeah, the yellow and the grey, just and the white and the red and the green, just really does make the bike stand out. I think it is a really nice looking bike, this. And I say it about all of them, but as far as your 125 bikes go, something that you can take and get dirty, but also in the UK at age 17 with a CBT, you can jump on something like this and have an absolute whale of a time. And they are big. I struggle a bit with the height of it. I am on my tiptoes just about. It's a tall bike. Specs as always on at the end. Now, as far as our safety stuff goes, we have got a single disc at the front. There's no name on that, but we've got a single disc at the front. It's one of those weird and wonderful ones with loads of holes in. Single disc at the back. Again, they've gone for the stylish looking one, but they do work really, really well. It's like being on a mountain bike. When you pull the brakes on this, it is stopping. I've got a little issue with the seat in that it is rock solid, but that for me is no different to any other seat of this type, because they're quite a slim seat. You're always going to feel it on your backside there. It is like riding a push bike or any other off-road bike. It's not a bike that I would consider for a long tour, or even more than an hour or two without needing a rest, but that's because I'm not used to this type of seat. Chain drive, of course, and as you can see with this bike, it is immaculate, it's spotless. It has certainly never been off-road, which is a shame, really. And I'm not going to do it today either, and that's a shame as well, because I need to take some off-road. Now, you will see I am sporting the L plates as well. I do have a full license, however, but because these bikes are learner legals, buttons, very basic. This type of bike, you do literally just have the three. So we've just got indicators, horn, and your high-low beam there. Right hand side, just the two. At the bottom, we've got your start, and then we've got in the red your engine cut off. So very basic. As far as the screen goes, very basic, very similar to any bike in this class, I think. Anything that looks like it goes off-road, they don't go to town with a screen. Just a very small LCD screen. It's probably only, about 2 centimeters, if that. in width, length, maybe 10 at a push. It's only small, but you've got a nice clear speedo. We've got total miles, which this is showing just over the 800. We've got a clock, which hasn't been set because I wouldn't be out here at 20 past 11 at night, and we've got a temperature gauge. Yeah, it's quite basic, but that's all you need. I consider this bike to be quite a special bike, and the reason I say that is this bike is probably one of the reasons that I actually got into doing this type of review on YouTube. So for that, I'll always be grateful. And genuinely, it's just one of those bikes. I think going back to my youth, a lot of lads that were around my age at school, when they left school, they got something like this. I couldn't afford it and always wanted one. So I think when I saw this, I wanted to jump on. And this is obviously the bike that drew me in, that got me talking to the lads at Into Moto. So the rest is history. But what do you think of it anyway? We'll go for a test ride. I'll test the brakes. I'll test what sort of speeds we can do on it. I'll see what it's like on a few different types of roads. I would love to take it off road, but I'm not, because this bike is currently for sale and I'm not getting it dirty today. But you can see at the tyres are absolutely massive. This is built for off-road use, or it's certainly set up for off-road use. It's just not being used for that today. In fact, while I'm talking nonsense, I'll jump on and show you just how tall this bike is. You can see already, it's well past my hip on the side stand. Oh. I am the same both sides. I'm just on my tiptoes both sides. Now, as an adventure bike, I got rid of one because I felt very similar to this. Didn't feel as comfortable on the road, but I get with something like this, you need to have the ground clearance because it's made to do a little bit of playing off road, isn't it? So it needs to be that little bit taller. So I think an hour or two on this, you'd need to go and, well, you'd need to have a walk or something because it's not the most comfortable bike in the world. One thing I do like is the side stand on it. It's quite long, so when you do put the side stand down, it is still relatively upright. There's not a lot of lean to it, so when you first get on, you don't have to take all the weight of the bike to straighten it up, so that's good. I want to go and do some more riding. Make sure you join me, and if you want more reviews of this type, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. And before I do jump on the bike, I just want to mention, just in case I forget on the test ride, this bike is one of the bikes that I mentioned on a previous video. So this bike has spent its life so far being a show bike. It's been used at press events, that kind of thing. So it's come to Into Moto as a pre-registered bike. So you can save a little bit of money on this if you're looking to buy a brand new bike. Something like this for me makes sense because it is in effect a brand new bike. It's got 800 miles, which is good because it means it's been ran in for you, first service has been done, and you don't have to worry about keeping the revs down, so you can just get on and ride it like you want to. And it's obviously available at Into Moto at a reduced price, so if you're interested, link in the description. Let's go riding, shall we? So what I do love about this type of bike is they are just like riding a big mountain bike. There's just not a lot of weight to them, and you can throw them around like you're on a mountain bike, and that is what I really do like about them. It is only a 125, I've got to stress that, but it's quite nippy, and who doesn't love a saving? I absolutely do. And apologies if I sound like a salesman on these videos, because I really don't work for them and I don't get commission, I don't get paid any money. What I do is Well, I want you lot to save a bit of money, especially if you're a new rider, and I get asked quite a lot from different people about learning how to ride, but they're quite tall, and they ask for advice with regards to particular smaller bikes like the 125s, etc. And they talk about being 6'5" and bikes all being too small for them. Well, I can confirm that will not be the case with this bike, because this bike is a whopper. I am on like my tiptoes. If I try and put both feet down, it's a proper tiptoe job on this. And with a little bit of sneaky, you can see how thin it is as well. It is a very thin bike. But you know what? As far as 125s go, this is really nippy. And I've been on loads of 125s, thanks to the guys at Into Moto. I'm kind of quite well versed in them. I have a 125 myself, and I know what's a nippy one and what's a slow one. And I've been on kind of a lot of 125, so I know them quite well. And this, I would say, is certainly one of the quicker ones that I've been on. Got just over 800 miles on, so it has been running, and that means I can give it the little beans. So I can see how fast this bike will go, because it's already had that run-in period and first service. Now, I am conscious of the fact that this bike is for sale, so I'm not going to be silly, of course I'm not. But I can give you a general idea of how fast top end this bike will go when we get to our national speed limit road, which is right in front of me. The gears are really nice and smooth, just to get that in before we get to our speed test. Yeah, the gears are the really like slightest touch on them, and they're moving up. I like that, especially for a bike that you're going to take off-road, which this is going to be capable of. Okay, so nationals, I'm not going to drop down gears and give it the top of the rev range or anything. I'm just going to see what speeds we can get to with, I suppose, little effort. So we're in top gear now. Okay, now that got up to, I think it was 56 miles an hour, but bear in mind I was going uphill and I'm a heavy SOB. But as soon as it got to the top of the hill and started coming down, it started picking up speed quite quickly. So it was very much on the edge of getting to 60 miles an hour, but it had lots left in it. So it is capable of 60 miles an hour. And 60 miles an hour is always the goal on a 125. This looked like it was going to surpass it. Not by a lot, I'm sure, but it was still going to go over 60 miles an hour. Now that I've always said is the benchmark for a 125. Sat up tall, there's no wind protection, and like with a lot of this style bike, when you are sat on a bike like this, after half an hour to an hour, you know about it, because your arse is aching. It really is. They are quite a hard seat. Apologies if you can hear wind noise today. Because of my GoPro camera issues, I can't actually put a microphone in my helmet. I'm having to just use the Media Mod microphone that's on the back, so I've got to have my visor up, which means I've got to share the wind with you. From past experience for myself, when I do any sort of off-roading, it's not at a great speed. So for a learner bike to take off-road, this actually wouldn't be too bad. It's got a decent engine on this, and I found that with a couple of the Mondial bikes that I've been on. I don't know if they use the same engine. Certainly the HPS that I went on, I found that to be quite a nippy 125 as well. So whether these are using a similar or the same engine, I don't know, but I've got no issues with the performance of this, so it gets a tick for that. If you're looking for something that's got loads of kit and things to play with, then obviously not, because this hasn't got loads of kit on it. But it's not that type of bike, is it? I mean, this bike is going to suit a tall person. It's going to suit someone of my height just about. So 5'8" and above, you're fine. If you're a little bit smaller and you're confident on a taller bike, then fine, give it a go. But I personally am kind of on the limit of what I would feel comfortable with for a day-to-day bike. So if you're unsure, go down into Moto, sit on one, see how it feels for you height wise, and see if you can live with the height of it, because they are tall. It is not a brand new bike by definition, like a lot of these show bikes, but you're getting a bike that has been run in for you, so you don't have to worry about taking it easy when you first get on, because it's already had that run-in period and service done. So it's a bike that you can get on and ride properly straight from the off. So if you're interested in this, I'll put a link in the description for Into Moto, and just have a look, because there are savings to be had, and this is one of those bikes where you can make a whopper of a saving. They do have brand new selection as well. Personally, I would go for this because of the money saving that you'll get on this. However, if you wanted a new one, or you wanted one in a different colour, obviously they do have them available in there. So pop in, have a look, tell them I sent you. I can't see you saving any more money, but you might get a brew out of them, and it's always worth asking, isn't it? Anyway, thank you very much. Catch you on the next one. Toodles. It's back home already.
Stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop.